This is a review of an article on research-based educational practices for students with autism spectrum disorder. Students being diagnosed with ASD is on the rise. With the emphasis of the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, it has placed added stress on public schools, parents, and teachers. Finding a way to incorporate evidence-based methodologies to aid and teach children with ASD is key and necessary. Unfortunately, currently there are a number of non-evidence-based interventions being used for the treatment of ASD. It is necessary to introduce and elect to use effective interventions that are evidence-based. Oftentimes, finding the right intervention or methodology to implement is the hardest challenge. That's what this article covers, is research-based educational programs for students with ASD. It reviews the top 5 that are evidence-based methodologies or programs that should be implemented in teaching and intervening with children with ASD. Applied Behavior Analysis, or ABA, is a systematic process of studying and modifying observable behavior through a manipulation of the environment. Chia 2004. This analysis uses an ABC model. Basically, A is the stimulus, or what happens prior to the behavior of the child. B is the child's action in response to the stimulus or event. And C is the outcome or result of the behavior. This methodology or program requires the parent and teacher to be in constant feedback and correction of a child's behavior. So the success of this program is interdependent on both the home environment as well as the school environment to reinforce those behaviors. The effectiveness so far, it shows around 47% of the children in an ABA program achieve higher functioning, and then they're able to attend classes in the mainstream, which is obviously the least restricted environment for education, the ultimate goal of where we wish to place a child diagnosed on the spectrum. Developmental Individual Difference Relationship-Based Approach Model, or known as floor time, is another approach. This program focuses on a child's individual developmental needs, including social, emotional, functioning, communication skills, thinking and learning processes, motor skills, body awareness, and attention span. Floor time is basically just that, getting down on the floor with the child on their level and interacting with them. It actually provides critical developmental strategies that they're lacking. Intensive play, that one-on-one interaction, also stimulates the child and helps them to become more aware of their body and motor skills. It challenges behavior, getting down on the floor and reiterating acceptable responses or learning responses to behavior, and it's tailored to the specific needs of the child and their family. 45.5% of children who have used this model have made functional and developmental progress. Picture Exchange Communication System. This program promotes communication through the use of tactile symbols and objects. There are 3 instructional phases of this system. Number 1, request an item or activity by using a picture or a symbol or an object. So being able to point or use a symbol to say and express a desire or a need. Generalize the activity by using a symbol for an item that's located in other areas of the room. For instance, if you would like a drink and it's in the other area of the kitchen, you know to point drink in another section of the kitchen. So not necessarily having to see what you want, just knowing what you want by being able to generalize it. Determine the difference between 2 different requests. So being able to say, I want my shoes and a drink, or I want a biscuit and a drink, or my pants and my shirt. So it's being able to determine the difference between 2 different requests or objects. This builds to a 6-phase instruction that ultimately allows the use of several symbols. As a result, the child incorporates more complex language, almost like building sentences with pictures, photos, and symbols and objects. It's most useful for children that are nonverbal. So it is actually used to help them be able to communicate when they have very limited communication skills. The next program discussed in the article is Social Stories. This program provides a brief descriptive story to help children understand social situations. This type of intervention is used on children who lack the knowledge or ability to decipher social situations, or their social skills are not where they need to be at a level to be able to communicate properly or react or handle a situation. This actually type of program is one that my son has used. We've used Social Stories with him with his particular autistic disorder. This actually describes a situation, skill, or concept. It's presented to the child before it occurs so that they know how to act in the situation. It should be a predictable social story. It should be predictable. They should be able to predict what is happening. It should be written from a child's point of view and promote pro-social behaviors. This type of program, Social Stories, is considered a very promising behavioral intervention, especially, like I mentioned, for children who have or lack that social interaction skill. Treatment and education of autistic and communication-related handicapped children, otherwise known as TEACH, is the final program discussed in the article. TEACH uses structured teaching, which highlights the use of visual supports to maximize the independent functioning of a child with ASD and/or other related disorders. Human Odom, 2007. There are 4 critical structured teaching components. Number 1 is structure and organization of the workspace, how the workspace is set up. Number 2 is schedules. Schedules indicating the details of what is required for the task. So basically outlining the details of the task. Expectations, which depicts the work system's detailed expectations of the individual, what you expect from the child during the task. And then organizing and describing the task. So basically explicitly describing the learned task to the child so they know what they did, when they did it, what is expected of them when they were doing it, and reinforce that learned behavior. It requires that a child receive explicit instruction on how to maximize their workspace. All 4 of those components play into that. They provide praise and recognition to reinforce the behaviors. Ultimately, this will reduce the need for prompts, and the child becomes a lot more self-sufficient. Implementing evidence-based interventions is necessary. Although research as it is and as it relates to ASD and education is growing, the available research on interventions and programs for children with ASD is limited. The number of children being diagnosed with ASD is increasing. We've heard that a few times. That's why it's important that we apply and advocate for the use of these research-based educational programs. Speaking from experience as a mother to a son on the spectrum, ASD affects a wide range of educational, verbal, and social skills. Arming your child with early interventions and proven educational methods to make them successful is key. Educate and advocate for children with ASD. Some don't have a voice. It's our job to speak for them and provide services needed to the best of our abilities. That is why research-based educational practices for children on the autism spectrum disorder is necessary.